They say that identical twins share everything. The same face, the same voice, the same DNA. They say we have a connection that other siblings can never understand, a bond that transcends ordinary family ties. For 27 years, I believed that with my whole heart. I believed that my twin sister Lauren and I were two halves of the same soul, destined to walk through life side by side, each other's greatest ally and truest friend. Then came New Year's Eve, the night I discovered that the person who shared my face had been systematically trying to destroy everything I had built, and that the jealousy I had always excused as harmless had metastasized into something monstrous. My name is Megan Turner, and this is the story of how I lost my twin to jealousy and how I fought back against the sister who tried to steal my entire life. I need to take you back to the beginning to help you understand just how intertwined our lives were before everything fell apart. Lauren and I were born 7 minutes apart on a rainy April morning in Boston. I came first, which she always joked about, saying I had shoved my way into the world ahead of her the same way I shoved my way into everything else. She said it with a smile, and I always laughed, never realizing that behind the humor was something darker, a resentment that had been building since before either of us could form memories. Our childhood was idyllic on the surface. Our father was a high school principal, our mother a pediatric nurse, both of them devoted to giving their twin daughters the best possible life. We shared a bedroom until we were 13, stayed up late whispering secrets to each other in the darkness, finished each other's sentences so consistently that our teachers stopped calling on us individually. We were the Turner twins, inseparable and adorable, the pride of our family and the envy of everyone who watched our bond from the outside. But even in those early years, there were differences between us that would eventually become fault lines. I was the organized one, the planner, the sister who did her homework the night it was assigned and practiced piano scales without being reminded. Lauren was the creative one, the dreamer, the sister who forgot deadlines and lost textbooks but could draw pictures that made adults stop and stare. Our parents celebrated both sets of traits equally, or at least I thought they did. Looking back, I wonder if Lauren saw things differently. I wonder if every gold star on my report card felt like a judgment on her. I wonder if every compliment about my reliability was heard as criticism of her chaos. The real divide began in high school. I thrived academically, joining every club, running for student council, building the kind of resume that would eventually get me into a top university. Lauren struggled. Not because she lacked intelligence, but because the structured world of grades and standardized tests did not know what to do with her particular kind of brilliance. She was an artist, genuinely talented, the kind of painter who could capture emotions on canvas in ways that left people breathless. But art does not translate well into GPAs, and as my academic achievements stacked up, Lauren began to retreat into herself. I noticed, but I did not understand. I thought she was just going through a phase, the typical teenage angst that everyone experiences. When she started making excuses to skip family dinners, I assumed she was being dramatic. When she stopped wanting to match outfits the way we had since childhood, I thought she was finding her own identity. When she looked at my acceptance letter to Boston University with an expression I could not quite read, I told myself it was complicated emotions, happiness for me mixed with uncertainty about her own future. I never considered that what I was seeing was the birth of something far more dangerous. After high school, our paths diverged completely. I went to college, then business school, then into the corporate world of marketing and brand strategy. Lauren bounced between art programs, never finishing, working retail and waitressing jobs to fund her painting, always just one big break away from success. I offered to help her financially countless times. I offered to use my growing network of contacts to find her gallery representation. I offered to pay for her to go back to school. She refused everything, always with a smile that said she appreciated the offer, always with an edge in her voice that I chose not to examine too closely. I met Ethan Walsh at a marketing conference when I was 25. He was a software engineer presenting on user interface design, brilliant and handsome and so genuinely kind that I fell for him almost immediately. We dated for 2 years, got engaged on a trip to Paris, and were married in a beautiful ceremony where Lauren served as my maid of honor. She gave a toast at the reception that made everyone cry, talking about the unbreakable bond between twins, about how she was not losing a sister but gaining a brother. I remember looking at her face as she spoke and thinking how lucky I was to have a twin who loved me so completely. I did not notice the way she looked at Ethan when she thought no one was watching. I did not notice the way her hand lingered on his arm when they hugged. I did not notice the slight tightening of her smile whenever I mentioned how happy we were. After the wedding, Ethan and I settled into married life in a brownstone we had renovated together in Cambridge. I was rising through the ranks at my marketing firm, and Ethan had been promoted to lead developer at his company. We were comfortable, successful, building the kind of life that felt both earned and blessed. Lauren was still struggling, still waiting tables, still painting masterpieces that no one seemed to want to buy. When her apartment lease ended and she could not afford a new place, I offered to let her stay with us temporarily. I thought I was being a good sister. I thought having her close would help us reconnect after years of growing apart. I could not have been more wrong. The first sign that something was off came about 3 months after Lauren moved into our guest room. Small things started going missing from around the house. A pair of earrings Ethan had given me for our anniversary, a silk scarf I loved, a limited edition perfume bottle that had sentimental value. When I mentioned it to Lauren, she suggested I was just misplacing things, stressed from work, not paying attention. She helped me search for the missing items, concerned and supportive, the perfect picture of a caring sister. Then the rumors started at my office. My colleague Jason Kim, who had become a close friend and eventual business partner, pulled me aside one afternoon and asked if everything was okay. He said there had been some concerning things floating around, gossip about my professional conduct, suggestions that I had been taking credit for other people's work. I was stunned. I had always been scrupulous about acknowledging my team's contributions. I prided myself on being a leader who lifted others up rather than standing on their shoulders. Jason believed me, but he warned me that whoever was spreading these rumors was doing it strategically, talking to exactly the right people to cause maximum damage. Someone with inside knowledge of our company dynamics, someone who knew exactly which buttons to push. I did not suspect Lauren. Why would I? She had no connection to my professional life, no access to my workplace, no knowledge of my colleagues or their relationships. I assumed there was a rival within the company, someone jealous of my recent promotion, someone who saw me as a threat. I started watching my back at work, never once looking over my shoulder at home. The next incident was more personal. Ethan came home one evening looking troubled and asked if I had been talking to his mother about our plans to start a family. I said I had not. He said that was strange, because his mother had called him upset about some things I had allegedly said, suggesting that I was not sure about having children, that I was more focused on my career than on building a family, that I had expressed doubts about our marriage that I had never shared with him. I was bewildered. I had never said any of those things. I adored Ethan's mother and would never dream of confiding such intimate thoughts to her, even if they were true. Ethan believed me, but I could see the seed of doubt that had been planted. His mother had been very specific, quoting exact phrases, referencing conversations that had supposedly taken place while I was visiting her the previous weekend. But I had not visited her the previous weekend. I had been at a work retreat all day Saturday and a baby shower for a colleague on Sunday. I had not left Cambridge except to drive to those events. That was when I first felt a cold finger of suspicion trace down my spine. I started paying more attention to Lauren after that, watching her movements around the house, noticing when she borrowed my clothes without asking, observing how she had begun styling her hair exactly like mine, wearing makeup that made our identical features even more indistinguishable. I told myself I was being paranoid. We were twins. Of course we looked alike. Of course people might occasionally confuse us. That did not mean anything sinister was happening. Then my credit card was declined at a restaurant during a business dinner. I was mortified. I called the bank immediately and discovered that someone had maxed out my credit limit with online purchases I had never made. Thousands of dollars spent on art supplies, designer clothing, and luxury items shipped to an address I did not recognize. The bank's fraud department launched an investigation, and I spent weeks untangling the mess, providing documentation to prove that I had not authorized the charges. The address the items had been shipped to turned out to be a shipping locker, the kind you can rent anonymously. A dead end, or so it seemed at the time. The pattern continued. My social media accounts were accessed and strange posts appeared, ones I had not written, saying things that made me look unstable or unprofessional. My email was compromised, and embarrassing messages were sent to colleagues. A dating profile appeared with my photos and name, advertising me as available and interested in meeting men, which a friend of a friend discovered and reported back to Ethan. Every time something happened, Lauren was there to comfort me. She would hold my hand while I cried, assure me that everything would work out, suggest that maybe I was working too hard and the stress was making me forget things I had done. She planted tiny seeds of self-doubt with every sympathetic word. She made me question my own memory, my own sanity, my own grip on reality. I did not realize I was being gaslit by my own twin sister. The breaking point came in late November, about a month before that fateful New Year's Eve. I came home early from work, headache pounding, just wanting to lie down in my own bed. Ethan was supposed to be at the office until 7. Lauren had said she was spending the day at a gallery showing her portfolio. I walked into my house and heard voices coming from the kitchen. Ethan's voice, and what sounded exactly like my own voice. I froze in the hallway, my heart pounding so loudly I was certain they could hear it. I crept forward, staying out of sight, and listened to a conversation that would change everything I thought I knew about my sister. Lauren was sitting at the kitchen table with my husband, wearing my clothes, her hair styled exactly like mine, laughing at something he had said. From behind, I realized she would be indistinguishable from me, even from the front, in this light, with this styling. The differences were nearly impossible to spot. Ethan was telling her about a problem at work, something he had mentioned to me just that morning, and Lauren was responding as if she had heard the whole story before, because she had heard it before, from me, and now she was pretending to be me, continuing a conversation I had started, sitting in my kitchen with my husband while wearing my face. I must have made a sound because they both turned toward the doorway. Ethan's expression went from casual to confused to horrified in the span of about 2 seconds. Lauren's expression did not change at all. What followed was chaos. Ethan demanding to know what was happening, me demanding the same. Lauren calmly explaining that she had just borrowed some clothes and was not pretending to be anyone, that I was overreacting, that my recent stress was clearly making me paranoid. She was so convincing that for a moment, even I wondered if I was losing my mind. Maybe I had misunderstood. Maybe I was seeing threats where none existed. But Ethan believed me. He had been sitting with Lauren for nearly 20 minutes, he admitted later, and he had genuinely thought he was talking to his wife. The deception had been flawless. And if Lauren could fool my husband in our own kitchen, what else could she do while wearing my face? I asked Lauren to move out that night. She did not argue, did not cry, did not offer any defense beyond that initial denial. She simply packed her bags with an eerie calm and walked out the door, pausing only to say that she was sorry I felt this way and that she hoped I would get the help I clearly needed. The implication was clear. I was the one with the problem. I was the one who needed help. I was the unstable twin, the jealous sister, the one who could not handle seeing Lauren succeed. After she left, Ethan and I sat in our living room and tried to make sense of what had happened. We went through every strange incident of the past few months, every missing item, every rumor, every mysterious occurrence. The pattern was suddenly obvious. Lauren had access to our home and everything in it. She knew my passwords because I had trusted her enough to write them down where she could find them. She knew my schedule, my contacts, my vulnerabilities. She had been living inside my life, learning everything she needed to dismantle it from within. But we still did not know why. We still did not understand what she could possibly gain from destroying me. Until Ethan checked his email and found a message from Lauren that she had clearly intended to delete. The message was addressed to someone named Victor Callahan, an art dealer I had never heard of. In it, Lauren outlined a plan to convince Victor that she was actually the successful twin, that she was Megan Turner, the marketing executive, that the years of professional accomplishment I had built were actually hers. She wrote about how easy it would be to assume my identity once I had been sufficiently discredited, once my husband had left me, once my career had collapsed. She wrote about forging documents, accessing bank accounts, relocating to a new city where no one knew us, and she could finally have the life she deserved. My sister was not just trying to hurt me, she was trying to become me. The discovery left me physically shaking. 27 years of shared history, of twinship, of believing that the person who wore my face was my greatest ally, collapsed into dust. The Lauren I thought I knew, the sister I had loved unconditionally, either had never existed or had been consumed by something I could not comprehend. All that remained was a stranger who wanted to erase me and take my place. Ethan wanted to go to the police immediately, but I stopped him. The email was damning, but it was not enough. Lauren had been careful, covering her tracks, ensuring that most of the damage she had caused could not be directly traced to her. The credit card fraud had led to a dead end. The social media hacks could not be proven to be her doing. The rumors at my office were just rumors. If I accused my twin sister of trying to steal my identity without ironclad evidence, I would be the one who looked unhinged. Lauren had already laid the groundwork, planting seeds of doubt about my mental stability, ensuring that my accusations would sound like the ravings of a paranoid woman. I needed to be smarter. I needed to build an airtight case before I made any moves, and I needed to do it before Lauren realized I was onto her and escalated her plans. December was a month of investigation and preparation. I hired a private investigator named Sandra Morris, a former fraud detective who specialized in identity theft cases. Sandra was skeptical at first. Twin sister impersonation was rare, and family-based identity fraud was notoriously difficult to prove. But the more she dug into Lauren's activities over the past year, the more alarmed she became. Lauren had been practicing being me for much longer than the few months she had lived with us. Sandra found evidence that she had been making small purchases in my name for over 2 years, building up a history of activity that could be used to establish alternate identity documents. She had obtained a driver's license in my name with her own photo, exploiting our identical appearance to fool the DMV. She had opened a P.O. box where she received mail addressed to Megan Turner. She had even created a professional portfolio that duplicated my career achievements, claiming credit for campaigns I had led, clients I had landed, awards I had won. The scope of her deception was staggering. This was not a spontaneous act of jealousy or desperation. This was years of methodical planning, of patient preparation, of building the infrastructure she would need to step into my life once she had sufficiently destroyed it. Sandra also uncovered the identity of Victor Callahan, the art dealer Lauren had been corresponding with. He was based in Los Angeles with a reputation for representing emerging artists who had compelling personal stories. Lauren had been cultivating a relationship with him for nearly 18 months, presenting herself as a successful marketing executive who was secretly a gifted painter, someone who had sacrificed her true passion for the security of a corporate career. She had shown him her artwork under my name, spun a narrative of hidden talent and suppressed creativity, positioned herself as the kind of story that would generate media attention and collector interest. Victor was planning to give her a solo show in March, an exhibition of paintings by Megan Turner, marketing executive turned fine artist, with gallery materials and press releases that would cement Lauren's theft of my identity. The cruelest part was that the paintings were genuinely good. Lauren had talent, real, undeniable talent that could have earned her success on its own terms. But she had convinced herself that talent was not enough, that she needed my credentials and connections to be taken seriously, that the only way she could succeed was by stealing what I had built. Armed with Sandra's investigation, I began building my counterattack. I documented everything, creating a comprehensive timeline of Lauren's identity theft activities. I worked with my bank and credit card companies to trace the fraudulent transactions back to accounts Lauren controlled. I contacted the DMV and initiated the process of flagging the fraudulent license she had obtained. I reached out to a lawyer specializing in identity crimes to understand my legal options, but I also planned something more personal. Lauren did not know I was aware of her schemes. She thought she had gotten away with everything, that I was too confused and destabilized to fight back. She was still in contact with Ethan, sending him occasional texts expressing concern about my mental health, suggesting that maybe he should consider whether our marriage was serving him well. She was still laying groundwork, still manipulating, still waiting for the right moment to make her final move. I decided to give her that moment, and I decided to make sure it destroyed her instead of me. The plan came together in the final week of December. Our mother, Claire, had been asking us to spend New Year's Eve together for months. It was her first year as a widow, our father having passed away the previous spring after a long battle with cancer. She wanted her family around her, wanted to start the new year with the people she loved most. I told her I would be there, and I suggested she invite Lauren as well. I said I wanted to make peace with my sister, to put our recent conflicts behind us, to honor our father's memory by being a united family. My mother was overjoyed. She'd been devastated by the rift between her twin daughters, confused about what had caused it, certain that whatever had gone wrong could be fixed with love and time. She called Lauren immediately, and Lauren agreed to come with a graciousness that made my skin crawl. She was so good at performing sisterly affection. She had been practicing her whole life. Ethan thought I was making a mistake. He did not understand why I wanted to be in the same room with the woman who had tried to destroy our lives. But I explained my plan, showed him what I had prepared, and watched his concern transform into something grimmer. He understood. He agreed to play his part. New Year's Eve arrived cold and clear in Boston. My mother's house was decorated beautifully, the way it always was for holidays, though there was a melancholy in the air that everyone could feel. My father's absence was a wound that would never fully heal. Lauren arrived an hour after Ethan and I, dressed elegantly, carrying wine and flowers, embracing our mother with what looked like genuine affection. When she hugged me, I felt her body tense almost imperceptibly before she forced herself to relax. She knew something was different. She could sense it, the way twins always sense things about each other. But she did not know what. The evening proceeded with surface-level normalcy. We ate dinner, exchanged small talk, carefully avoided any topic that might lead to conflict. Lauren was charming and attentive, asking about my work, complimenting my marriage, playing the role of devoted sister with Oscar-worthy skill. I matched her performance, smiling and nodding and waiting for the clock to approach midnight. At 11:30, I excused myself to use the bathroom. Instead, I went to the living room and connected my laptop to my mother's television. When I returned to the dining room, I asked everyone to join me for a special New Year's presentation. Lauren's expression flickered for just a moment. Curiosity mixed with something else, wariness, fear. In the living room, with my mother and husband seated and Lauren standing by the doorway as if already calculating an escape route, I began to speak. I said that before we welcomed the new year, I needed to share something important. I said that I had discovered some difficult truths over the past few months, truths that had changed my understanding of my own family. I said that I had hoped to handle this privately, but circumstances had made a family reckoning necessary. Then I pressed play. The first document that appeared on screen was the fraudulent driver's license Lauren had obtained in my name. Her photo, my identity, a government document that proved she had been actively impersonating me for at least a year. My mother gasped. Lauren said nothing. The next slides showed the timeline of financial fraud, credit card statements with charges Lauren had made, bank records showing transfers to accounts she controlled, receipts for items shipped to her P.O. box, A paper trail that proved beyond any doubt that my twin sister had been systematically stealing my identity and my money. Then came the emails, the correspondence with Victor Callahan, the plans to assume my career, the detailed strategy for discrediting me and taking over my life. Each slide was another nail in the coffin of Lauren's deception, another piece of evidence that left no room for denial or excuse. My mother was crying, silent tears streaming down her face as she watched the evidence of one daughter's betrayal of the other. She kept looking at Lauren, kept waiting for an explanation that would make this all make sense, that would restore the world she thought she knew. Lauren did not cry. Lauren did not protest. Lauren stood perfectly still, her face a mask of cold fury, and watched her schemes laid bare. When the presentation was finished, the room was silent except for my mother's quiet sobs. I told Lauren that the choice was hers. She could admit what she had done, cooperate with authorities, and face the legal consequences of her actions. Or she could continue to deny it, and I would take everything I had gathered to the police, to Victor Callahan, to every person she had deceived. Lauren looked at me for a long moment. Then she laughed. It was a sound I had never heard from her before, cold, bitter, devoid of any warmth. She said that I had always been the clever one, always the one who planned ahead, who covered every angle, who made sure she came out on top. She said she had known from the moment we were born that I was going to take everything and leave her with nothing. She said our parents had always loved me more, had always been prouder of me, had always seen her as the lesser twin. She said she was just trying to claim what she deserved, what should have been hers all along, the life that would have been hers if I had not shoved my way out of the womb 7 minutes ahead of her. The words hit like physical blows. 27 years of sisterhood, and this was what she had been thinking the whole time. Every smile had hidden resentment. Every hug had been an embrace she resented giving. Every moment of our lives together had been poisoned by a jealousy so deep she had never been able to escape it. I told her that I was sorry she felt that way. I told her that I had loved her unconditionally, that I would have given her anything she asked for, that she could have had success on her own terms if she had been willing to work for it. I told her that she had destroyed our family, not because she was denied opportunities, but because she could not stand to see me succeed. Then I told her to get out. Lauren left without another word. She walked out the door and into the cold New Year's night, and I let her go. The clock struck midnight while she was still walking to her car. Somewhere in the distance, fireworks erupted. A new year was beginning. The aftermath of that night was painful, but necessary. I filed a comprehensive police report the following week, presenting all the evidence Sandra and I had gathered. Lauren was charged with identity theft, credit card fraud, and attempting to obtain fraudulent identity documents. She pleaded guilty to reduced charges in exchange for avoiding trial, receiving probation and mandatory restitution. Victor Callahan was furious when he learned he had been deceived. He canceled Lauren's exhibition and issued a statement making it clear that he had been the victim of an elaborate con. The Art World Gossip Network spread the story quickly, ensuring that Lauren would never be able to pass herself off as someone else in gallery circles again. My professional reputation recovered once the truth came out. The colleagues who had heard rumors about me now understood the source of the whispers. My company issued a statement supporting me, and several people who had been targeted by Lauren's manipulation reached out to apologize for ever doubting me. My mother struggled the most. Losing her husband had been devastating enough. Learning that one of her daughters had been consumed by jealousy and betrayal nearly broke her. She blamed herself, wondered what she had done wrong, questioned every parenting decision she had ever made. I assured her repeatedly that this was not her fault, that Lauren's choices were Lauren's responsibility, that loving both of us equally had not caused her daughter to become a thief and a liar. Eventually, my mother had to make a choice. She could try to maintain relationships with both daughters, walking a tightrope between the twin who had betrayed and the twin who had been betrayed. Or she could accept that Lauren had put herself outside the bounds of family, that her actions had consequences, that enabling her would mean abandoning me. She chose me. It was the hardest decision of her life, but she made it clearly and definitively. She told Lauren that until she demonstrated genuine remorse and completed meaningful work on herself, there would be no relationship between them. It was not a punishment, she said. It was a boundary. Lauren did not take it well. She sent angry messages accusing our mother of choosing favorites, of proving her point about always loving me more, of being complicit in my cruelty. Then the messages stopped. Lauren moved to another state, cut off contact with everyone in our family, and disappeared from our lives as completely as if she had died. In some ways, she had. The sister I thought I knew, the twin I had loved since before we were born, that person had never really existed. What replaced her was someone I did not recognize, someone consumed by envy and entitlement, someone who would rather destroy me than build her own success. The grieving process was complicated. I was mourning a living person, someone I might pass on the street someday, someone who still wore my face and carried half my DNA. The twin bond that I had cherished my whole life turned out to have been one-sided all along. I had loved Lauren unconditionally. She had resented me unconditionally. Neither of us had known the full truth about the other until it was far too late. I went to therapy to process everything. The therapist helped me understand that I was not responsible for Lauren's jealousy, that I could not have prevented her betrayal by being less successful or less visible. She had made choices based on her own wounds and insecurities, wounds that had nothing to do with anything I had done. My only failure was trusting too completely, and even that was not really a failure at all. Trust is not a weakness, it is just a risk, and sometimes the people we trust fail to deserve it. Ethan and I grew stronger through the ordeal. The shared experience of facing down an enemy bonded us in ways that ordinary life never could have. We learned that we could count on each other absolutely, that our partnership was resilient enough to survive an attack designed to destroy it. A year after that New Year's Eve, I gave birth to our first child, a daughter we named after Ethan's grandmother. She has my face, of course, but she is her own person entirely. My relationship with my mother healed slowly. The scar tissue of Lauren's betrayal never fully disappeared, but we learned to talk about it honestly, to acknowledge the pain without letting it define us. My mother sold the family house eventually, moving to a condo closer to where Ethan and I lived, wanting to be near her grandchild and the daughter who had stayed. She still cries sometimes when she talks about Lauren, still wonders if there was something she could have done differently. I tell her that some people are simply broken in ways that no amount of love can fix. It does not make the loss any less painful, but it makes it less personal. I built a successful consulting firm with Jason Kim as my partner. We specialized in brand crisis management, helping companies navigate the kind of reputation disasters that I had experienced firsthand. The irony was not lost on me. Lauren's attempt to destroy my career had actually made me an expert in destruction and recovery. The revenge I took was not dramatic. It was not the explosion of confrontation or the satisfaction of watching my enemy destroyed in public. It was quieter than that and more permanent. I exposed the truth. I forced accountability. I removed a toxic presence from my life and the lives of people I loved. I built something beautiful out of the wreckage my sister had tried to create. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had never caught Lauren in the kitchen that day. Would she have succeeded in taking over my life? Would I have woken up one morning to find my identity gone, my marriage destroyed, my career in ruins? Would she be living my life right now, enjoying the success she had stolen, finally feeling like she had won? I will never know the answer, and I am grateful for that. The what-ifs are seductive, but ultimately pointless. What matters is what happened, and what happened was that I saw the truth in time to fight back. I caught my sister before she could finish destroying me, and I made sure she faced consequences for everything she had tried to do. Lauren is still out there somewhere. I see fragments of her life occasionally on social media, filtered through mutual acquaintances who do not know our history. She is painting again, apparently, selling work under her real name in galleries far from Boston. I hope she finds peace. I hope she learns to be satisfied with her own life instead of coveting someone else's. I hope the jealousy that consumed her for so long finally releases its grip. But I do not hope hard enough to reach out. I do not hope hard enough to risk letting her back into my life. Some doors, once closed, need to stay closed forever. Some trust, once broken, can never be rebuilt. Some twins, once divided, are never meant to be reunited. They say that identical twins share everything. The same face, the same voice, the same DNA. But we do not share the same soul. We do not share the same choices. We do not share the same capacity for love or for destruction. Lauren and I wore matching faces for 28 years, and beneath that surface of sameness, we were as different as two people could possibly be. I lost my twin to jealousy on New Year's Eve, but I did not lose myself. I did not lose my marriage, my career, my mother, or my future. I did not let my sister's envy define my story or limit my possibilities. I fought back. I won, and I built a life that was worth fighting for. Every New Year's Eve since then, I think about that night. I think about standing in my mother's living room, watching the clock strike midnight while Lauren walked away. I think about the fireworks exploding outside, the sound of celebration mixing with the sound of heartbreak. I think about the end of everything I thought I knew about family and trust and twinship. And then I hold my daughter a little tighter, kiss my husband a little longer, call my mother, and tell her I love her? Because the new year is not just about endings. It is about beginnings. It is about choosing to move forward even when looking back hurts. It is about building something new from the ashes of what burned down. My name is Megan Turner. I am a survivor of my sister's jealousy and a builder of my own future. I lost my twin, but I found something more important in the process. I found myself.